now.
Okay. So anyway, your question, Matt, was if I'd ever been asked to be a level 2, level 3, level 1 certified instructor. Actually, what was actually happened back in 1995, 96, and 97. Lynn Safsek, Al Schmidt, and Joe Gill at different times approached me to see if I would be one of the level 3 instructors. And it was really funny because I didn't have any of those certifications, level 1, level 2, or level 3. I don't have those. And they started laughing. They said, you don't need those. You need to be teaching level 3. So at that time, I was driving about 50, 60,000 miles a year, working with different teams all over the country and around the world. And I was putting about 100 to 150,000 miles on a plane a year as well. So I just told them, no, I wasn't going to do it. I didn't have the time to do it. As far as your question about the University of Arkansas, 1993, 94. I was there working with John and Dick and the women's program, men's program. And John asked me to take over one of the positions that he had there. And I turned him down because I didn't want to work with just men. And Jim Van Houtigan, who was coach at Oklahoma, head coach at Oklahoma, now he's at Purdue, actually comes up to me every time I see him at a meet and thanks me for not taking the job, because it propelled him to be able to get to Texas A&M and several other places where teams he's been a part of have won 12 NCAA titles. So it's always been funny to me as I would go to these meets and so many people would come up to me and start talking to me and would be asking me all kinds of questions. There was a time when people basically in Kansas had no clue what I was doing outside of being a youth coach. And I'd go to the U.S. championships or one of the big meets, and I couldn't even see the track meet because everybody was inundating me with questions and doing all kinds of things. It was quite the thing. I hope that answers your question, Matt. Does anybody else have any questions like that? Let's get them out of the way. Or you can ask me when we're off camera. I'm not big on doing stuff like that. What other, and you have to understand this, Matt was one of my former athletes. It was really funny because I tried to recruit him where I was coaching at the college, and he told me, nah, I'm going to stay home and just go to school here and not even run. And what was it, the day or 2 days before school starts? What was it?
Yeah, it was less than a week before school started. Yeah, I called you up.
he calls me up and says, I think I want to run. Can I come down and run? And he hadn't been running at all. And I said, sure. And he did some good things after that. It was really good. Really, really good. I've never turned down a good kid. Anyway, what other questions does anybody have with regard to the training and things like that? Again, if we were live, I'd be able to walk you through a bunch of stuff. Who's up here? Chris, Sue. No, Sue.
Yeah, so just back to that loop again where the front runners will be chasing. What's the rule there? So if they're chasing, they're going to be pushing. If they exceed the heart rate, is that okay? Or are the heart rate rules on that?
You're not going to have that problem. Don't worry about the heart rate. Anytime you do a chase workout, they're not going to exceed it. It'll come down immediately. It's about being consistent with the effort on that.
Okay,
And we have kids that, as Chris will tell you, we have kids that get so much further by the end of the season than they were at the beginning, and they're able to make it back all the way each time. And one of the keys to that is we don't let them, I have the coaches lead different sections of it to make sure that the kids don't go too fast, because the tendency for kids and most people is the first ones going way too fast. So it's about having that control on the very first one, let them get into it. I think that's the big key as far as I'm concerned.
okay.
Does that answer your question? Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll be chasing, but the idea is, and this is the thing, if they're running fast and they go, even though they get back to the starting point, and let's say they're doing a 3-minute run and they're there at 2:50, they got to keep running. They don't stop there. They run 3 minutes. So you're not rewarding them for getting back there faster, because then it's playing into their hands. You got to make sure that they're consistent the entire time, and what you're teaching them is consistency.
got it.
Because after the first one, they can pretty much tell where they need to be to catch everybody by the end. So it actually really builds a lot of team camaraderie, because they're chasing the younger kids or they're chasing the slower kids. The slower kids are doing their best to get away from them, but they're doing their job to help the faster kids as well. And you'd be amazed how much some kids improve just by doing that. They're now being chased, so they move.
Okay.
Okay. Matt, it looks like it's getting dark there.
Yep, it's gotten dark on me.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments about the workouts? Okay, again, I've pretty much given you about 6 weeks of what I would recommend that you do. It's a mandatory 4 weeks of base. And then 2 weeks after that, that's when you have the kids start. If not, and you've got them for 4 weeks, you got all season. Let's say you get them started on 1st of August. I'd let their first meet be their first hard workout, and then I'd add in the flying workout. Or on the 4th week, I might add in a flying workout. You don't want to overdo it, because you've got all season. And you can't penalize the kids that have been doing it by having them do less. That always aggravated me with my dad, because everybody would do three back then miles. You'd go out and do an easy run of 3 miles. And that was the first day of practice. And I'm going, but I've been training 8 miles. So I get done with that, 3 miles, you do your thing, and then I go out and run 5 more. But I think it's really fair that you look out for the kids that have been doing their training and don't cater to everybody else. You got to make sure you're taking care of the ones that have done the work during the summer, and make sure they're getting the right stuff, because the ones that didn't do it are the ones that are you're gonna have to really do some figuring to make sure you're not overdoing it, but also get them kind of in shape. And you got to penalize. You got to worry about them and not penalize the kids that have been doing the training. Okay, like I said, that should get you through until the first week of the season. And if any of you want me to take a look at stuff, I'm more than happy to do that. Send me what you would think of the workout. I've done it for you for several of you, and I'm more than happy to take a look at what you've got. And basically, I just need a meet schedule for workouts. But more importantly, is to remember 4 to 6 weeks of base building, 2 weeks of the flying stuff, You need to look at it this way. You're doing 3 flying workouts. You're circulating through them over the course of 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, you do the same thing. The only thing that's going down is the number of them during the regeneration week. So if they were doing 12, I would do 10. If they're doing 10, I'd do 8 or something like that. If they're doing 6 150s, well, the first time they would do 5 150s because you don't want to overwhelm them. And then if you've got a regeneration week, you want to do 5 again. So, and you're working up to 6. So those are just different things to do. Again, I'm more than happy to help with workouts, whatever I can do with that. It's easy for me to set up and help you set the entire program up. But if you're not going to, the only stipulation I would put is if you're not willing to follow the program, I'm not willing to do it, because it takes a good 2.5, 3 hours for me with all the little idiosyncrasies within each program as far as the meet schedule and all that. I'm not going to spend that. I'm not going to waste that time if you're not going to do it. I'm more than happy. I think anybody on here that's I've helped with their workouts will vouch. I'm there for you no matter what. But you better be willing to do it the right way. Because
I'm gonna jump in there real quick. And I mean, I know a couple people here, this is kind of new to them. Like Sue, you were saying you do some similar stuff and the flying stuff's new and that. I can just say that, and thanks to Coach, my son went to camp and he came home his sophomore year. In between his freshman and sophomore year, he was so excited because he found his people. And he brought home Coach's stuff, and I started incorporating it into my cross-country team. And I'm probably preaching to the choir with most of you, and I'll just use him as an example. I keep track of all my runners constantly, every single meet. They can go back 4 years. If they run for me for 4 years, I got every single time for every meet. But just as my son is an example, and just this program, this type of stuff really works. He went from a 1841 his sophomore year at state to running a 17 flat his senior year. And that wasn't his best time. I mean, Wamego is a challenging course, but it definitely works. And I see kids year in and year out from the beginning of the season to the end of the season just make those constant steps. Now, they also have to put in that effort too. They have to buy into it, because if they don't, they're not going to get out of it what they should. And also, Coach, you mentioned the other night on the Zoom, and a few of you guys were on here, you talked about positive coaches. If anybody's looking for a master's program in coaching, positive coaching, I just finished one at MU, and it was a really good program with Dr. Sullivan there. He does a great job. It's fairly new, but it is a fantastic program. I know the state of Kansas won't recognize it for your first master's, but if your district has the ongoing pay scale and stuff, it was fantastic. So just throwing that out there.
Did the former head coach, what's his last name, Rick? Did he?
McGuire.
Yeah. Did Rick McGuire come in, do any of that stuff with them, John? Okay. He leads all the sports psychology for USA Track and Field forever and ever. Anyway, really good guy. Okay, anything else that I can answer for anybody?
Super specific question, the 150s, how much rest in between those?
It's like everything else, 4 minutes of active recovery.
4 minutes, got it.
4 minutes of any speed work is always 4 minutes. And that's the hardest thing for distance coaches to get. They think they're getting way too much rest. If you want to fry your kids, don't give them 4 minutes. I mean, they will be so sore and so worn out the next day and the day after that, you will never believe it. You know, I had a kid one time that ran really, really well. The problem was his coach got it in his head that even though he was doing these workouts, I said 4 minutes. Well, he said, that's too long. And he called me afterwards and I said, your legs are going to be fried tomorrow. And he goes, no, they'll be fine. He called me, his legs were so sore the next day. He goes, well, it didn't seem like it was that big of a workout. I said, I'll teach you how lactic acid really works. So it's got to be 4 minutes because that's how long it takes for the blood lactic level to get down. It's either that or park on your butt for 8 minutes to get the same effect. And you don't have 8 minutes to park on your butt. So 4 minutes of active recovery actually allows you to get the speed in while also getting the aerobic training in that you need at the same time. Okay, anybody else? Well, like I said, just send me an email. If you want to get in contact with me, I'm more than happy to do that. Like I said, I think this should get you through for the next 4 weeks for sure, and probably 6 weeks. And then by that time, we can have all the schedules and stuff arranged for you. And again, Sue, if you're younger kids, if you're wanting to do this for younger kids, literally all you got to do is go on our website and follow the program. We can fill it out.
Yeah, I saw that for sure. I've been there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else from anybody?
I guess just kind of using the Ethan example. I know that one time at camp you had him talk just because of his frustration, I guess, with the start of it. You know, like if they're doing that heart rate training, and they haven't done it before, you know, there was times Ethan was going 6 minute, 6:30 on his runs, you know, just normal, easy run. And some of the first days at camp, he was like 12 minutes. He's like running back with the 7th grade girls, you know, going 12-minute pace. And he came home and he came, you know, back the first 3 days and like, this is stupid. Like, it's like, it'll work. Just give it. And I mean, we were in Colorado too, so the elevation wasn't helping one bit either. But that year he ended up, I think he went to nationals with you guys and he ran 15, or he ran like 16:10 maybe that year. Maybe it was 15:40 that year. I can't remember. That was the one that it was super muddy, and I think they might have moved the start line up a little bit, but you know, he went, and I think him and Hadley both ran sub 17 at Wamego that year. But he went, by the end of the year, he was doing his normal runs back where he was before, but he was just in so much better shape. I mean,
yeah, again, it's the hardest. I've seen so many kids and can tell you so many stories of kids who they'd come in and they were so mad and they'd throw their heart rate monitor across the room and they'd say, I'm never doing this again. This doesn't make any sense. And we convinced them to get back out and do it. And after a while, they didn't want to run that fast. They were having to run to stay in that zone because they were so fit in that zone by the end of it. So it's just got to be patient. Once they're patient, it all starts to happen. It just takes the guesswork out of everything. Completely takes the guesswork out of it. Okay. Anything else? Anything else that I can answer for anybody? Tomorrow we'll have 2 sessions. We'll have Kathy will be one of the coaches that's doing the recruiting in the college experience. And then we'll have a bunch of the kids that come and talk about their experiences with the heart rate monitor. and how much they improve just by doing it. So, coaches, you can pick whichever one you want to go to. But that's kind of where we're at. Anything else that I can answer for anybody? If you need to, don't feel free to get a hold of me, and we'll play it a little bit by ear and go from there. I appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you, Coach. Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, thank